Welcome into Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey. A critical week for Minnesota. Have a great chance to help the Packers not make the playoffs. Minnesota still fighting for seeding. Number 1, number 2, worst case number 3 are all alive. And Green Bay is the betting favorite against Minnesota as the Vikings try to sweep Green Bay for the first time. I remember. I don't know last time that happened. If you hate the Packers, type in FGB in the comments section right now. Spam it for me. We'll hopefully take care of Green Bay and knock them out, potentially the playoffs altogether. Get those FGBs in the comments section right now. You're watching Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey here with all the latest on what is going on around the Minnesota Vikings. Some hype, but some injury news and notes as well that we will break down here. The answer was 2017, last time they swept, as weird as that sounds. Cheating if we include 2018 because they tied, but ties are an American, so whatever. Injury news to begin. James Lynch, one of the defensive linemen, is going to miss the remainder of the regular season with a shoulder injury. Per Ian Rappaport, plan is to pull back and rehab. Hopefully he's able to get back out there in time for the playoffs. Now, I do think Rappaport calling him one of the most impressive young defenders, or whatever the exact line was, is maybe overselling it a little bit. He has 16 tackles. Is he a decent young piece? Sure. Would I call him one of your best young players? I don't know about that one. It is a loss. It's a depth loss, I should say, for the Vikings along the defensive line. Lynch wasn't playing bad, don't get me wrong on that front, but he had in total this year, under 300 snaps. So I'm not really sure I'm calling that a key cog there of the unit. 276 total, 18 against the Colts. So, he's a depth piece. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather him be healthy since the Vikings have gone through so many injuries already this year. But type 92 in the comments section to wish him a speedy recovery. Get those good vibes flowing. Hopefully Lynch can come back in time for the playoff push that Minnesota is locked into at this point. Coming up next, 4 Vikings who deserve some love. And these are players who, I think most of us would agree with the names, but guys who are stepping up late in the season when you need your players to step up. Call it the hype train section, if you will. Number 1, Brian Asamoah, the linebacker, the rookie linebacker from Oklahoma. Producer Patrick, our diehard Vikings fan, is in love with him. He was great against the Giants. Forced fumble, a fumble recovery, really good in coverage. And that's what I crave in the modern day NFL. I want linebackers who can cover. I want guys who can get sideline to sideline. And as long as their instincts can come along, they can be great players. I think Asamoah has that type of athletic ability. I saw it at Oklahoma. I think we're seeing it right now on the Vikings. The speed he adds is important to Minnesota. That is a big boost for them along that linebacking core. I'm not saying Asamoah is the next great superstar Vikings linebacker. I think he can start for you. I think that's a big deal for Minnesota, especially when they potentially face teams like Dallas, teams or players with great tight ends. Dallas Goedert, George Kittle. And Giants obviously not nearly as good at the tight end spot, but when you're going to play good teams with tight ends, having an athletic linebacker will help you in a big way. Quarterback. Right? Kirk Cousins, he's number 2 on this list. The past 3 games, that first half against Indy was not particularly good, but he's been playing really well. 63.6 completion percentage, over 1,000 yards in 3 games, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I know it's Kirk Cousins, and until he does it in the playoffs, there's some understandable doubt from national media, the fan base even, about Kirk being able to deliver. He's been really good this year. Guys, he is 4th in passing yards, and no cap comment coming, he has been better than Tom Brady this year. Now, Brady has not actually been that good, although, come playoff time, I feel like it will still be Brady, and he's certainly benefiting from Justin Jefferson, but Cousins is 4th in the NFL in passing yards and 4th in the NFL in passing touchdowns, or I should say tied for 4th in passing touchdowns. That's pretty good group to be in there, putting up top 5 production this year from Kirk Cousins. I'd be pleased the way he's played, knowing playoffs is when he has to deliver. Now, if you want to boost your knowledge of the Vikings, even with some nerd stuff mixed in, hit that subscribe button for free. Free videos every single day right here on Minnesota Vikings Now, youtube.com/@Vikings Today. Free videos when you subscribe right now. This one's a no-brainer. Justin Jefferson, though, I am dead serious, should be getting MVP type of love this year. And he's not. It's Mahomes. It's Hurts. There's been, when healthy, some Tua, some Josh Allen, who doesn't deserve it, by the way. Justin Jefferson, though, has a very real chance of getting to the 2,000-yard mark at wide receiver. That would be a record at the wide receiver spot. He is 209 away in the last 2 games to beat Megatron's record of 1,164. Now, they might run into an issue where come week 18, and he does get the extra game, to be fair, but that's the record books don't care. That's how it goes now. You might be sitting a game, and that it might hurt things there in the end. But he could also go for 209 in a single game. I've seen that happen before for Justin Jefferson, despite some quiet games against like Philadelphia and Dallas. There's been no better receiver in the NFL. Maybe Tyreek Hill scares you more as a playmaker because of that speed, but I think Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the NFL, which, thanks Philly. So do you think Jefferson will break Megatron's record of that 1,964 mark? Y for yes, N for no in the comment section. Do you think it will be broken by Justin Jefferson this year? Number 4, how about the kicker? Sometimes they are people. Greg Joseph. Hey, he has gotten going in the month of December when you need your kicker's headspace to be right because it's such a mental position. You've got to be in the right headspace or you're going to screw up. It has ruined careers like Dan Bailey. We all remember that one, right? 6 of 6 on field goals, 12 of 12 on extra points in December, and drilled a 61-yarder to beat the Giants, prevent them from locking a playoff spot, keeping your own number 1, number 2 seeds hopes alive. Greg Joseph, after missing some long kicks earlier in the year, the coordinator says he's going to have a great year. He was hyping him up. It's a rough start. He's gotten going as of late. The Vikings are NFC North champs, not the Lions, not the Bears, not the Packers. It's the Vikings this year in the first year of head coach Kevin O'Connell's tenure. Get your Vikings NFC North gear at chatsports.com/NFC North. Links in the comment section and the description. I think the Concord is perfect for Minnesota. It's very on brand. The Vikings, I love it. Get your gear today, chatsports.com/NFC North. Before we go, some playoff picture conversation. How the Vikings can lock up that number 1 seed. It's actually rather simple for Minnesota. They do not have the tiebreaker over San Francisco head-to-head. All they have to do is win out, beat the Packers, and then beat the Bears, who are bad and tanking in Week 18, and have the Eagles lose out. Now, if Minnesota wins out, they're at least getting the number 2 seed. They have to maintain a 1-game advantage over San Francisco tiebreaker-wise. So what they need then, Vikings win out, Saints beat the Eagles, and the Giants beat the Eagles. I'd say it's somewhat unlikely, but I wouldn't totally rule it out. The Eagles are not going to have Lane Johnson, and they're not very good record-wise without Lane Johnson, like a 500 team. It's a big loss for them, losing Lane Johnson to that abdominal injury. Now, I will make note, if the Eagles lose out and the Vikings still lose a game, they're actually not going to get the number 1 seed. End up being the Cowboys or Niners in that scenario, so keep that in mind. But the Vikings have a chance. If you could assign a percentage to the Vikings stealing that number 1 seed away from Philadelphia, despite losing the head-to-head matchup, what would you assign it? Is it like 5%, 3%, somewhere in that range? For those of you wondering, the New York Times does an upshot, similar factoring in like odds and everything of like outcomes of games. If they win out, you're talking 6%. Now, right now it's at 2% because they think the Vikings will at least win one of those games, so it just kind of gets a little bit better each week there. I think it's low, but you're still fighting for seeding, so you're not going to sit anybody. Getting the number 2 seed, by the way, up to 58%. So that's probably will they end up if they win. It bumps up to 80 because you're just like projecting the likelihood of a win against Chicago at that point. Get your votes in, though, what you think the chances are of the Vikings stealing that number 1 seed.